and welcome back to the prior Gypsy's Landing podcast. I am your host, Brittany Jackson, and I am so happy you are here. Last week's episode, I filmed pretty impulsively. It was last minute, unprepared, but I did think it turned out pretty good considering. As I had mentioned in last week's episode, that night, I had my last straw with comments that had been made about my previous name on my podcast. It was like I talked about in episode 2 on Spiritual Awakening, where something happened, it shifted my perspective, and then I just knew what to do. I didn't think much about it. I just acted on it because I knew what was the right thing. So on this week's episode, we are going to explore everything that I have been experiencing, thinking about, and learning throughout this last week's journey since the announcement. Since I have decided the name change of my podcast, this past week was very stressful. I was very overwhelmed and anxious. I kept analyzing and thinking about what the perfect name for my podcast would be. So, newsflash, there is no perfect name. I was looking up all the different podcasters with their names on their podcasts, and it varied so much because there is no right or wrong decision. What makes a good show is the content that is shared and the way that the podcast host delivers it. And the most important thing of all to me is if the host is connecting with their audience. I was trying to think of a name that doesn't harm anyone, nothing that would be culturally or ethnically diverse, nothing that is used as a stereotype, as my last podcast name ended up being. I wanted a name that was to the point, the root of exactly what I want my show to be. Why am I here? I wanted it to be direct enough to attract the right audience, to attract the people that want to be here, listening to the content that I have to share with them. But I also wanted a title that I could expand off of, that I could explore throughout. Nothing that was too specific, where it would keep me in a box. This title also had to be easy enough and short enough to remember. If I run into someone on the side of the street and we get to talking about what I do and they ask me what my podcast is called, I want it to be easily remembered. And then one of the most challenging parts, it cannot already be taken. I also wanted a name that resembled me and who I am. If you don't know already, the artwork of my podcast is a picture of me in Iceland. It is from a photo shoot I did with a very close friend photographer. It means a lot to me. The expression and the mood within the artwork looks like I am exploring, that I am on a journey, that I am in the middle of nowhere, but I am headed somewhere. Therefore, the artwork and the title is personal to me. I'm also somebody that loves to travel, but my podcast will not be solely about me and who I am or the fact that I love to travel. I am somebody that loves unique words, something that you don't hear in everyday vocabulary, something that stands out and catches my interest. But I also didn't want a title that was too unique that no one knew what it meant or what was going on with it. I didn't want it too vague where it left room for interpretation or questions, kind of like my last podcast ended up doing. Some people thought it was the stereotype term that I thought of this free-spirited nomad that was carefree and loving of the earth. But a whole separate set of people knew the facts of where that term came from and how it originated. Also, Gypsy's Landing could have been about culture or the Romani people. Gypsy's Landing also could have been about travel or about living a nomadic lifestyle. The point being that my title has to be specific enough, but not too broad. Thankfully, with it coming up about me changing the title because of the offensive background that I was unaware of before, it also left room for me to accept where I could have went wrong in some other ways that I didn't think about before. When something arises in our life and we are given a new set of ideas and understandings, we can then accept the situation and explore new ways on dynamics that can support this change that we are experiencing. Everything in life is based on perspective. I had a perception where I could defend and stick to my original title, or I could understand where other people were coming from and where it originated. I could take a look at the facts and make a decision based on how I wanted to see the situation. I could build a list of reasons why to keep the old name, or I can make a list of reasons on why I am deciding to choose a new name. In order to help channel some new titles for my podcast, I had to get clear on what my purpose is. What is my why for being here? What is my intention from being here on this platform with you? My biggest purpose of all is to inspire that one person that decides to make a change in a positive direction in their life to become a better version of themselves so they can love themselves more and live a more full life that reflects a life of all that they are. When we show up better for ourselves, we can then show up better for the rest of the world. We can go out into our environments and impact other people in the same way that we are being impacted ourselves. The positive ripple effects from these decisions that we make for ourselves are endless. When we make good decisions by doing the next right thing, we make positive impacts on everyone in our world around us. It is not about changing the world. It is about planting seeds that grow into beautiful directions for other people. That is a life worth living. The impacts that we make on the people around us. There has been studies that have shown 2 different plants. One that was spoken to with love, treated with care and affection, and the other plant that was abused, disrespected, neglected. And obviously, you already know which plant had a better quality of life and lived longer. The same goes for humans and our environments. So how am I going to do this? How am I going to succeed at this purpose and this passion that I have on the impact I make on the world? Well, first, I'm going to start by sharing my experiences and my understandings on this podcast platform with you. I am going to authentically share my triumphs and my setbacks. I am going to live out loud and authentic to what the human experience is really like. I am going to share boldly and truly and live by example. By doing this, I hope that others can relate to me and my experiences or what I'm going through and apply those things onto their own life and experience, and also learn something new that they can apply to themselves and take out into the world and helping it become better. Something that is also really important to me is talking with you, not at you. We are told enough by the world, our surroundings, our culture, and our society about what to do and how to do it, who to be and how to be. And the last thing that you need is to hear that from me on this platform as well. What I prefer to do is to share my compassion, my love, my understanding of what the human experience really is. The human experience is everything. It is beautiful and scary. It is experienced through love and pain. It is through celebrating triumphs and grieving losses. It is by learning new things and having better understandings. Everything ties in to one another. Everything leads to something else. What if I use this platform to show up as me? Can you then better show up as you in the world when you go out into your everyday and interact with everybody you know? Can you live out loud? When I first started this journey, I had two decisions. One, I could start my podcast right away. I could record the first episode, put it out there, go with the flow, learn as I go. Or I could have prepared it behind the scenes, alone with myself. I could have recorded all of these episodes, collected them, and then released them or shared them when I was ready to. I played the tape through with both of these options. On the first option, I knew I was going to experience mistakes. I knew I was going to experience setbacks. But a value of mine is to live authentically and true, to take you on the journey with me through the trial and error. Because the truth is, we connect through our imperfections. That is where we are authentic. The second option, where I could have prepared everything behind the scenes, I would have overanalyzed. I would have gotten more lost in my perfectionism. I would have held myself back from making that first move. I would have sat on it for who knows how long. And you would have missed the magic in the whole journey. You would have missed building that relationship with me through the process of what it really took. So here I am. I made an honest mistake with my first title of my podcast, and now I'm here with you to share the process of learning about that and deciding to make a new name. I made this decision because I knew it was the right thing to do. You may be asking, well, how did you know that? For one, I saw how it was affecting people. It was creating concern, discomfort, and hurt because they knew the facts of where it really came from. The facts were the historical harm that had been done and the way this name originated, the root of what it really was. Society took it, put a bunch of glitter on it, made it really pretty, and used it in a lot of ways to recreate the word of what it isn't really. The fact that I am open to other people, that I am all inclusive. I love listening to and learning about where other people are coming from, what makes them who they are, what was their experiences, their upbringing, their understandings, and how can I learn from them through that. I am a Caucasian American woman. I know nothing of the experiences of the Romani people. If anything, this mistake makes me want to learn more about them and want to understand more about their experiences and what it's like coming from their ethnic and cultural background. That is my value, to be open, understanding, and all-inclusive. To not show up in the world like this is who I am and these are my experiences and I'm going to make whatever I want from that. No, that is not how I show up because I value the truth. Everything either comes from love or fear, and I choose love. Love of people. Love decided to make the harder decision. Love chose to do the right thing, to admit that I made a mistake, to change the podcast name immediately, to not follow through with the original outline I had planned for last week's episode, to go off the whim, which was really scary, and speak on what was really going on for me in that moment and supporting the decision I knew I had to make. Love was sitting in anxiety the whole week, overthinking and stressed about what I was going to rename my podcast, and also enduring everyone's opinions about the decisions I was making and if I was going to keep it or not. But what it also did was give me a name that makes more sense for everything that I intend for my podcast platform. It brought you into everything about what being a human really does look like, especially in a world where there's so much social media that is showing us so much false information, where we have so much room to make assumptions and essentially feel like crap about ourselves because we feel like we're not doing things right. And just so you know, there is not a handbook of what is the right and wrong way to do something, because our individual journeys and experiences are specific to us, and that's what makes them special. If I compare myself to all the other podcasters, my journey is its very own. It's not going slower or faster than anyone, it just is, because we are all on completely different journeys in completely different paces, and we all get completely different outcomes. And that is what makes life so beautiful. Making the right decision out of love to change my podcast name also gave me more confidence in who I am, what I want, and what this podcast really means to me. We really do grow through the process, and we come out the other side stronger. It also gave me an opportunity to connect with all of you. So I want to say thank you so much to everyone that cared enough and took it seriously enough to suggest names. That was the most meaningful thing for me, is that you cared enough to try to think of something and share them with me. Also, the ones that did support me in my decision and didn't project what they want or what they thought based on this situation, just really held space for me and really understood where I was coming from. I heard this quote not too long ago that unsolicited advice comes off as criticism. So when someone we love is going through something in life, there's this really great suggestion that I've heard that it says, ask them, do you want to be heard and supported right now, or would you like advice? And then that person has the choice on how they need you or want you to show up in that moment. It's just a more considerate way of doing things. There were so many good ideas and suggestions, and I really appreciate it. But at the end of the day, this decision did have to be my own, and it helped me have my own back. It helped me show up for myself in ways that I didn't even know I needed or that I even could. Through showing up and doing these new things, I am learning so much about myself, not just the process. If there is something new that you want to do and try for yourself in life, show up and do it. You are going to learn so much more about you through that process. And that is the point of life and why we are here, to have a full and meaningful life with ourselves, learning about ourselves, exploring ourselves, falling in love with who we are and the life we live. I am so grateful I took all of this on. As I've mentioned, I felt really stressed and overwhelmed after making that decision last week to change my name. So the next morning, I decided to do some self-care. One of the ways I do that is by doing some cardio. When we show up for ourselves and do the right thing, God follows through. What are the chances out of all of the workout videos I could have chose that were pre-recorded, I chose this specific one? The instructor was talking about how nothing in life ever goes as planned, but it does always go better than we could have ever imagined. She also mentioned that when other people think that we can't do something, continue to show up to show them that we can. By showing up for ourselves through the challenges, we come out on the other side better than we were before. That's the beautiful thing about seeds that we plant in the world, is that instructor will never know how much I needed to hear the things that she was saying on that video that day. I needed to be encouraged. I needed to be reassured and supported. And I got what I needed to hear from her. That seed that she planted in that video will manifest in so many different ways for so many different people. Somebody else could hear that same message and take something entirely different from it. So later on in the week, I was doing another workout and another instructor said exactly what I needed to hear as well. So once again, what are the chances of these conversations and things that are being said during the week that I need to hear them? The instructor was talking about how challenges are brought into our life to remind us of something about ourselves, or is brought into our lives to teach us something entirely new. She also talked about how we all experience challenges within our lives. Obstacles are a part of the experience, but she said what matters most is who we become on the other side of them. We become who we are because of the challenges that we overcome in life. As I mentioned, that this setback on renaming my podcast reiterated and showed me who I really am. I am a woman of integrity. I have compassion for other human beings. I live my life from my heart, and I do what is right, even when it is hard. I trust my intuition, and I make decisions that are in my best interest for the well-being of myself. And when I show up in these ways, and I do these things, I can show up better for everyone else. And everyone else benefits from the love that we give to ourselves. We become stronger because of our challenges, and we find out who we really are. So I am Brittany Jackson. I specialize in personal development and how to live an authentic life leading from your heart. So where do we begin? What do we need to do to find out who we truly are, what we truly want, what we believe in? By taking a voyage, the voyage within. So welcome to my new and improved podcast where we will be together imperfectly human every step of the way by taking the voyage within. With love, compassion, empathy, understanding, we will get to be messy. We will get to be beautiful and imperfect all at the same time. Now that you have gone on the journey with me on this change that you are a part of and everything that I've been thinking about and learning since, let's start wrapping up this episode with some affirmations. Feel free to repeat these with me to yourself or out loud. I am ready to go within. I choose to live my life leading from my heart. I deserve to know who I truly am. I decide to go on the voyage within. I would like to take this moment to say a prayer. Go ahead and invite in who you believe that will receive this. God, I pray over the listener. I share so much love and understanding for the human experience with this listener. In what ways have they felt not good enough? Have they felt unsure or uneasy about how they are or are not showing up in life? What do they need from you? They need your support and they need your love, God. Please help them believe in themselves, to do the right thing even when it's hard, to ask for support when they need it as they show up in this imperfect world in this imperfect human experience. Give them the love and the confidence within themselves to do what they need to do to become the person that they want to be. I want to thank you so much for showing up and going on this journey with me. If you support me in everything that I'm doing, please make sure to leave a review. They help these episodes and this podcast show up for other people to find, listen to, and experience. Also, if you know someone else that would like this content, please share it with them too. I would love to help as many people as I can. Next week, I will be on vacation. I am going back to Iceland for my second time, but good news. I am still going to have a brand new episode for you that week while I am gone on vacation. I'm going to pre-record it and schedule it to release that Wednesday from my Buzzsprout account. So don't miss me too much. You will still be able to hear from me. I actually get to share with you what that topic is going to be about ahead of time. One of my listeners, Kayla, requested that I make an episode sharing about my previous traveling experiences. And I thought that this week would be a perfect week to do that. So if you love traveling, or you're interested in traveling, or you want to live through these experiences with me, make sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode. Until then, live well and be happy.